Hello, everyone, and welcome. MovieManCHAD here, and I've got my mom with me again because, yes, you're right, we did see a movie together. Mom, what movie did we see tonight?
The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Yes, so today my mom hung out with my aunt today, and they were deciding to go see a movie because this is the second time my mom has seen this film, which is crazy nuts. Who goes see a movie twice? I would never, ever do that. Jurassic Park like 6 times. Pulp Fiction like 6 times. What else did I see? Star Wars probably a few times. So, you know, when you like a movie, you want to see it again and you want to share it with others. And so she would not shut up about this movie. And there are so many movies that I do want to go see that are in the theaters right now. And I was like, well, if I ever see The Man Who Invented Christmas, which looks like a fine, nice little film, there's so many other movies I need to go see before that. But here was my chance. Here was my opportunity right now. So I took it. I met up with them, and we saw this film. And this will be a spoiler review. So I just want to indicate that before we continue on, because I just don't want to have to worry about if suddenly we talk about something that was in the movie and be like, oh, crap, it's a spoiler. So spoiler review of The Man Who Invented Christmas. Quickly, what is this movie about? Well, Dan Stevens plays Charles Dickens, and Charles Dickens, of course, was the author of Oliver Twist, and was it David Copperfield, and The City of Two Men, or what was it?
The Tale of Two Cities.
The Tale of Two Cities. But he's probably most famous for the movie that this movie is talking about, the book that this movie is talking about, which of course is A Christmas Carol. So this Dan Stevens plays Charles Dickens, and we get to meet his family, his wife, his children, his father, who's played by Jonathan Pryce, and then Christopher Plummer, not Kevin Spacey, but Christopher Plummer plays, because Christopher Plummer replaces everything now with Kevin Spacey. You guess, yes. Sadly, that's the case. Plays Ebenezer Scrooge. So the movie revolves around Charles Dickens. Of course, this movie is based on a real man, but I imagine it took a lot of liberties telling the story. But this is examining that Charles Dickens, you know, he's very successful. He has a nice life. His family's very happy. His dad, who gave him kind of a rough childhood. I don't know a lot of the history of Charles Dickens. Do you know much of that?
Yes, he had a rough childhood. His dad had to go in debtor's prison. And because of that, Charles Dickens had to, as a child, as an 11-year-old boy, had to go to the workhouse, which was a place where that would help pay off the debt. And his father and his mother and father and some of the children of his brothers and sisters had to go with him to debtor's prison. They would take whole families. It was interesting, and which Charles Dickens wrote a book about called Little Dorrit, which was about a family that spent time in debtor's prison. And so it's basically his childhood, talking about how his father went bankrupt, didn't pay back his debt, and then Charles Dickens had to work as a child. So
it does examine some of those things in the film. So there's a lot of truth in this movie, and he's dealing with the fact that he's been so successful with Oliver Twist. Now he's had 3 flops. I don't know what those books or plays or whatever those were. And now he's trying to be inspired for his next book. And so we get to see him kind of have this writer's block, and then how his characters kind of come alive. And of course, Christopher Plummer plays Ebenezer Scrooge, and he's, you know, kind of haunting him a little bit as he tries to figure out the story. He's got like 6 weeks to kind of compile the story because Christmas is coming, and he's got a friend that's helping him out, and he's got this nanny / maid that kind of is inspiring him too, that works for him. And so there's a lot of interesting characters, more male characters I would say than female characters. I wish one of my early complaints of the movie is that the female characters, his wife is really nice, and this maid that has inspired him a little bit to do one of the Ghost of Christmas Past, I think it was. I felt like there wasn't enough of that. There was more focus on the film of Ebenezer Scrooge, played by Christopher Plummer, and then Charles Dickens, played by Dan Stevens, and then a really nice surprise. I wish he was in the movie even more, Jonathan Pryce, who plays the father. But the movie does go back and forth as he's trying to tell this new story, and you see his past. And there's some things that I didn't know, as you said before, about Charles Dickens, about his father and what he had to do when he was a kid. And so I have to be honest with you, I wasn't really excited to see this film, even though I like this cast and I love A Christmas Carol. I've seen so many versions of the film. Currently, I did find the one with George C. Scott from the TV show one from the 80s, and I haven't seen it yet, so I'm looking forward to maybe watching that one for Christmas. But I'm familiar with The Christmas Carol, so this movie has that nostalgia for me. You know, when they talk about the Christmas Carol and the story, how it gets made, it's very interesting. And that's where I think the big heart of this film is. But Mom, why did you want to go see this movie twice?
Because there were parts that I wanted to see. Sometimes you couldn't understand it because the British accent is, they speak so quickly. I didn't really catch everything that was said. So I caught a little more of it this time and watched for things. Because when you see a movie the second time, you can look for stuff, the things that you may have missed. And I did miss some of it, and it was really great to pick up on things that I missed in the first time I saw it.
So since you've seen it twice, do you even like the movie, Mom?
I love it.
Why do you love this movie, Mom?
Well, how can you not love Dan Stevens? He's just so adorably cute, and his beautiful eyes. But I love it because it's about the story of giving and how it changed a man, and he was able to change his life. And I think that's kind of the character of everybody. Forgiveness and changing your life and doing better and helping those in need and not being a Scrooge, as they always called it. It was one of my favorite stories about how your life can change.
Yeah, as I was watching the movie, it was kind of interesting because we get to see him kind of go through what Scrooge's character does too. How he's kind of, when he's in this mode of Dan Stevens playing this character, he's in this mode of trying to create this story, and it's getting extremely frustrated, so he's kind of coming to Scrooge to his own family and treating them well. So in that way, the movie is predictable. It's a very predictable film. You kind of have know where it's going and how it ends up and everything. And it's kind of like, it's like we've seen this story told a billion times, and it's going to be told a billion times more in the future. So we're going to tell it in a whole different way that I don't know if they've done before from Charles Dickens' perspective and how he creates a thing. I thought that was interesting and was the most fascinating when he's actually talking to his characters and they're interacting with him. Christopher Plummer and Dan Stevens are fabulous in this movie. So is Jonathan Pryce. Again, the male characters are a lot stronger than the female characters, even though the female characters are really nice in the film. I just wish they were a little stronger in the movie. It had more time. They needed more time on the screen. But as for the male characters, oh my gosh, they're just even though I know this movie will not be acknowledged for any awards, I realize that it's a very small film and it's sadly going to be forgotten because there's just so much coming out. Though I would not be surprised if the movie does get nominated for production design, costume design, and stuff like that, art direction, because the movie looks great. The cinematography is great. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful looking movie. It's handled well. You see all the shots. It's very British, very English, and I appreciate that. I like that, those feels as I was watching the movie. Just watching the movie, like, man, this movie just looks really good. I think the strongest aspect of the movie not only is the acting, but is the way the movie looks. It's a great looking film. And even though I felt a little dragged from time to time because I kind of knowing where the story's going a little bit here and there, I'm glad it wasn't as long as it was, because I think the general story was told very well with the main characters, and I really liked the interaction between those three actors. And I also liked the backstory, as I guess supposedly he's dreaming. As he's creating this thing, he's dreaming of his past, and we get to learn about his little bit of his childhood and the inspirations for some of the characters, and so that was really cool. Whether how true it is or not, it doesn't really matter. In the end, if you're going to do this story over again, it's fun to do it in a different way, and that's what I appreciate most about this movie. It's done. The story is told. The Christmas Carol story is told in a different way that I've never seen before. I've seen the story so many times, and even though there's versions I haven't seen yet, especially older versions, black and white versions. I still would like to see this, even though, again, it's a movie that you can appreciate and love because the story is just so amazing. And according to the end of the credits, it said the book really re-energized the meaning of Christmas, the meaning of celebrating, the meaning of coming together and giving. And so I appreciate that as well. So that's why the movie's called The Man Who Invented Christmas. It's not like the man who took Jesus out of the situation and invented Christmas in his own mind. He just he helped invent the way of celebrating, coming together as a family, forgetting your differences and coming together and celebrating and all that stuff. So like the film a lot, good film, solid. But here's the thing, it's rated PG. I don't think small children will enjoy it yet. They can watch it, they can experience it, but I think this movie is for teenagers and above. I really do. I think because I just think that way because I think there's something more going on in this film than just like dancing songs and little things and little bright lights and stuff like that maybe a small child is like, ooh, this looks cool. But I think what's interesting about this film is that there's more going for it that I think an adult will appreciate more than a child at that time. I would rather, if I'm going to introduce the story of A Christmas Carol to a child, I would probably go with either the Muppets Christmas Carol or the one with Jim Carrey, which is kind of scary, which is kind of cool because it's kind of fun to see something a little scary when you're a kid because then you remember it and you enjoy it even more as an adult. But the other story, I can't remember the other ones that I've seen in the past that were, probably television versions as well. But it's a classic tale. It's a beautiful tale. And I thought that the movie was funny at times and enjoyable and beautiful and something definitely worth recommending you see. Any final words? I mean, of course, I've done all the talking, Mom. Please share a few more opinions of this film, and then we'll close out the review.
Well, Dan Stevens is better looking than Charles Dickens was. No. Which I thought he was so cute. No, it's just that I think it depends on if you read to your child. I have a niece who took her 7- and 9-year-old, and they know the Christmas Carol story, so they enjoyed it immensely. So I'm not giving up that a small child, but anybody under 7 or 8 may not go. But the people that read this story and they know, and the kids that are aware of the Christmas Carol will understand it. She said that they were delighted. They understood the different characters and everything. So I was just so thrilled to watch this, and it just really moves. At times it moves so fast, and I really would love to have more movies in this fashion. I just think we need to see more movies. And that he said in one area that the reason he wanted to write this book is to help people be more loving, caring, and giving to those in need, because he always, because of his past being on the other side of like poor, being very poor, he was able to see that as a man that became quite wealthy could help those in need, and that's why he wanted people to understand that there are Scrooges out there, but they can change and then want to help the underdog or the person. And I think that's what I loved about it, that this is what Christmas is all about, helping those in need, giving of yourself, sacrificing. That's all it is.
And on that note, I think we'll end the review. All right, everyone. Anybody else seen this film? In the comment box below, let us know what you thought of The Man Who Invented Christmas. Give us your thoughts, and we appreciate all the love that we got on our Coco review. Thank you so much. And maybe we'll do more of these in the future. Don't know. Depends on the future of my channel. But in the meantime, thank you so much, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year. Anything you want to say, Mom, before we go?
Not at all. Nothing else.
All right, everyone. Live Film, MovieManCHAD, and MovieManCHAD Mom saying goodbye. Wave, Mother. Bye. Wait, they don't see your hand. Put your hand. There you go. There's your hand. Bye.